The new Title IX and everything that goes into it is Democrat policies. And the Democrats use LGBTQ to push a falseness. If a child is born from 0 to 18, it cannot compete against the opposite gender. It cannot pretend that it is something that it is not when it goes into a public school. You see, because the people that were born the gender, like the females, that are uncomfortable, even if there's just one, that one wins out. They were born it. But because Democrats want to play games, it would seem that if we don't change the way we vote and you're a Democrat, this is going to happen. Plain and simple. Because when it gets to the Supreme Court, it'll go back to the circuit courts. And eventually the circuit courts will have enough Biden-Kamala nominees that they'll get their way. That's the fact. And y'all talk about you want to protect women's rights. Oh my gosh. Ain't none of it. Let the states decide about the abortion. You see, here in New York, it's legal. You understand? We for it here in New York. And I'm MAGA. So if you don't want abortion, you better move to a state that votes against it. And if there isn't one, that's freedom.
Within the genuinely turbulent political landscape of a presidential election season characterized by cavernous national division on a whole host of issues, the Biden-Harris administration has chosen to substantially alter Title IX. That's the law intended to level the playing field between men and women in education. Under new rules imposed by President Biden and supported by Vice President Harris, the Department of Education would redefine sex to include gender identity, which would make exclusion of biological males who see themselves as females victims of discrimination under the law if prohibited from competing in athletics, accessing bathrooms, and sharing facilities in which people live with biological women. The Biden-Harris rules would also make faculty members subject to sexual harassment sanctions if they failed to address a student by their preferred pronouns. Opponents like tennis icon Martina Navratilova, who see the new rules as unfair and untenable, have come under siege.
You're a bigot, you're a transphobe, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, you're a communist, everything, and everything in between. And this is coming from the left. I am the left.
Panel, 26 states have thus far succeeded in blocking the new standard in court, and yet it is now the law in the rest of the country. Holly, I know you keep an eye on this issue. Thoughts here?
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating for all the women like Martina Navratilova who fought for decades to carve out a space for women to shine in sports. The reality is, and most people who still adhere to common sense, is that a biological male is stronger, often faster, generally, than the female. And having biological males compete with biological females in some cases is dangerous for them in some of these sports, wrestling and boxing and so forth. It's just grossly unfair, and it's very frustrating. It's good to see that we do have states who are fighting against this. It's really curious as to why the administration would push this right now when they really, they're better off focusing on other topics. It's not fascist. It's not bigoted. It's just recognizing the difference here. And also there's a safety factor with women who don't want to share a locker room with biological males. It's just common sense.
All right, Sergio, here's take an American who says, I don't think it's right for trans folks to ever be discriminated against in the workplace. But I also don't think that my little girl should have to compete against a male who has gone through puberty and now identifies as a female. I mean, what's at the base of this?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And the question is, how far? How far do we, change the laws to accommodate everyone? This is a very small population, the transgender community. As we can see in the Olympics, the controversies that are happening. I actually saw that first fight, the the one that's a biological male but is fighting as a female. When I first saw that, I said, "Oh, look, they're having mixed matches now." I literally thought it was a male versus a female. So in terms of education, there's no one should have an unfair advantage. No one should, regardless. The issue here is bigger and broader. No one should be penalized if I unknowingly do not call you by the right pronoun, because what I understand is that now there's, I believe, 50 abbreviations for different folks, and I said, wow, we will never be able to keep up with all that. So let's just stick to what's been going on, and let's stick to biological male, biological female as a standard.
And the break, Bill said this is dumb politics. You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I cannot imagine them rolling this out in the middle of a president, 91 days before a presidential election. This is incredibly unpopular with the American people as a whole, and why they would do this beyond me.
All right, we're going to leave it there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, look. Why is it even happening if it's so unpopular? Because the politicians aren't telling us the truth? The media isn't telling us the truth? You're not watching enough YouTube? I mean, you tell me. Since when does a child rule a classroom? A child is born, she. Or Harris and the Democrats win, and we got to know 50 pronouns. And that's a fact. Look it up. And I ain't trying to be rude to nobody. I don't hate nobody. But that's too much. You know what I mean? That's just too much. Wait. That's too much.